Hey, this is Stephen Ament. Welcome to my Exorcism.io series. In this episode, I'll be working through the clock exercise from the Ruby track. So what it wants us to do here is to implement a clock that handles times without dates. You should be able to add and subtract minutes to it, and two clocks that represent time should be equal to each other. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Let's open up our testing pane in Tmux and open up our test. All right, I'll execute the test and it will fail because we do not have our clock.rb file yet, which will also fail because, let me move it over here. We need to, okay, and that fails because we don't have an initializer yet. And our initializer is expecting to be able to receive a keyword argument, hour. And now it fails because our 2s is not returning what it's expecting to see here. If you look at this output, this is what our 2s is actually returning right now. This is sort of the default for a new class that doesn't have an explicitly implemented 2s method. So we can actually just implement this now, and let's just make it pass. We have plenty of tests in this class that are going to force us to implement real functionality. In fact, I just want to show you here. You know, we've had some of these exercises that didn't have enough tests to fully cover the implementation, and I was able to get away with hard coding a lot of it, and you know, went back and in most cases I filled out what I thought were the missing tests, forcing me to do it. But let's just take a little tour here of our test class. Look at that. We have 312 lines. We have tons of tests, slicing and dicing the functionality that we need every which way. So this is going to be interesting because it's just going to take a long time just to get through these tests. But I think we're going to be able to do this in one go. I don't think we're going to actually have an intermediate implementation that we have to refactor to something else. But let's see. Okay, so now it's looking for minute, keyword argument for minute. And we're forced to actually do something here. So let's go ahead and just capture these to begin with. Hour equals hour, minute equals minute. Let's put those into adder readers. And missing keyword minute. Wait a second. What? There we go. So this implementation, what we need to do here is we need to use a formatted string. And the format that we want a 2-digit number followed by a colon followed by a 2-digit number. So let's do this here. It's %2d colon. I think this is how you do this. And the way you actually do a formatted string in Ruby like this is with this %sign followed by an array of arguments that will be used in those placeholders. So in this case, it's going to be hour and minute. Oh, I see. Sorry, I see why we're failing here. We're failing here because we did not pass minute, but our code is requiring it here. So we just need to default that to 0. Okay. So what's missing here? Oh, is that how you do this? No. Aha. Percent O2D. So we're going to have to provide the same thing at some point here. Well, actually, let's just not worry about that yet. So this will be our next failure because this test is that midnight is 0 hours. So hour 24. We're not actually handling that case yet. So what we need to do is we need to roll our hours over every 24 hours. And so if 24 hours, every 24 hours we want to go back to 0 and count up again. I think the easiest way to do that is to take our hour and to take the modulus of 24. And I think that is probably going to do what we want it to do. Okay, cool. So 25 should give us 1. 100 will give us 4. Okay. This will be our next failure because we are not doing the same thing for minutes. And actually, there's something else we're going to have to do here. So minutes, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So minutes is going to work there, but the difference here between minutes rolling over and hours rolling over is when minutes roll over, we actually want to capture how many times minutes has rolled over and add it to the hour. So what we need to do is actually, if what the modulus operator does is captures the remainder of a division operation, we want the other component, and we want to add it to hour. So let's just take hour here and add the result of minute divided by 60. We will clean this up a little bit later and give these names and put them in some methods. But this is actually going to get us pretty far. And I think this might get us all the way down to the until we have to implement our next method. So let's just see. Let's just step through these. If there's a lot of them here, I'll speed it up. Okay, here we're forced to default our hour to 0. Okay, this is going to be our next failure because we have not implemented the plus method here to add minutes. So, yep, and that's exactly what we get, undefined method. So let's do this. And what we're going to want to return is a new clock. And hour will be hour plus other hour. We're just going to add those together. And then minute will be minute of our current instance and plus other minute. And because we have implemented hour the way we have to where on initialize, it's smart enough to handle sort of whatever numbers you give it, I think this is going to work as is. And I think that's the full implementation of the plus method. But let's just keep going and see. I think our next failure is going to be on minus. Okay, test subtract minutes will be our next failure here. All right, this is going to fail because we have not implemented the minus method. So let's do that right now. And actually, I'm just going to copy this and modify it. I'm just going to replace the pluses with the minuses, and I think that's going to do exactly what we need it to do. Yep, look at that. So again, I think this is just going to work all the way down till we have to test our double equal method or implement our double equal method. So this will be our next failure because we have not implemented double equal. So it's going to do the default comparison, which I think is checking for the same object, which is not what we want it to do. What we want to do is we want to compare hours and minutes. And if hours are the same in both clocks and minutes are the same in both clocks, we're going to consider them to be equal. So hour should equal other.hour, and minute is equal to other.minute. And I believe that's it. So let's see where this gets us. Okay, I just raced through the last of these tests, and this code works. There's not a lot that I want to do. All I want to do is name the stuff that's happening in the initialize method, and so I'm not going to cut away. I just want to go ahead and do that real quick. Do a quick refactoring. I'm going to create 3 private methods just to give a name to the functionality that's happening there. And I think that's going to be it. And we'll be on our way. So let's continue here. So right here, we are adding minute divided by 60. Well, what is the idea here? What is minute divided by 60? Well, we are getting the hours from minutes. Let's make that private. We're deriving the hours from the minutes. And then the next one here, we're normalizing, I guess, hour. We're going to need 2 here, so I'm going to name it separately there. And then the same thing here for minute. And that's about it. I don't really see much else to do. I mean, I could be missing something, but I think this is pretty straightforward. The only thing I notice here, I guess there's 2 things that are questions I would ask as I looked at this. One is, we have bare numbers here in our implementation in these private methods. And we call those, we call numbers like that are just down in your code, we call them magic numbers, because it's just a bare number with without a name. So a lot of times what people will do here is they'll come and they'll add a comment to make it clear what's happening. They'll say 24 equals hours in a day or something like that. It's like, well, why put it in a comment? Why not just make your code explicit and simply call it hours per day? I would put it in a constant like this. Hour modulus hours per day. And then we could do the same thing here. This is minutes per hour. And we have that down here as well. So it's a little bit more explicit what we're doing. Wait a second. We have a skip test somewhere. Oh, no worries. It passed anyway. Great. In this case, these numbers here, 60, 24, to me, it is so clear, and that is such common. If you are implementing a clock, the odds that you don't know that there are 60 minutes in an hour and 24 hours in a day, and that when you look at this, that's immediately what you're going to think of, the odds are pretty low. And so I don't really know how much value it adds to name these like this. It doesn't hurt anything. And, I originally thought that I wasn't going to do it, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. The other question that pops up in my head is this private keyword here. Now, private exists, right? It's something that is a feature in the Ruby language, but there are a lot of people who consider private methods in your class as a code smell. I believe it was Chad Fowler who said something like private methods in your class are a hidden class crying to be released, crying to come into an existence. What it would be here, I don't know. Clock normalizer object, or would this be multiple classes? But this is so straightforward that I don't think I'm even gonna bother with that. This is, man, I really don't see anything off the bat that I would do. I mean, it looks pretty. I might do something to line these up. Is that more readable to you? Is that more? Is that clearer? I want to leave the code in a readable state. I want things to be really obvious. What's going on? Like, I don't know that really is better than this, but I think I feel pretty good about this. It's probably not the best code anybody's ever written. There might be a better version of this. And in fact, what I'm going to do, I'll go ahead and submit this. And rather than just close it out right away, I tell you what, I'm going to jump over and look at some community solutions and see if there's any suggestions I can find to improve this. And if I find anything, I'll come back and maybe I'll do another pass at this.